What happens when the CEO of a 15-location car wash chain realizes he knows more about soap formulas than the people running his stores? Shane Ellison had inherited the business from his father 5 years ago. The chain had grown from 3 local shops to 15 across 2 states. Shane modernized the branding, optimized the chemicals used, and built out a slick website, but he hadn't worked a single day in a wash bay since he was 19. Lately, something felt off. Reviews were slipping. Complaints about long wait times, burned-out staff, and broken vacuums were piling up on social media. His district manager, a guy named Travis, brushed most of it off. "Just the summer rush, Shane," Travis had said over Zoom with a lazy grin. "We're running lean, but it's under control." Shane didn't like that answer, especially when a loyal customer from one of the Arizona locations emailed him directly, saying she watched an employee nearly pass out in the heat while a manager barked at him to keep wiping faster. That was enough. He called an old friend who worked in makeup and prosthetics. They gave him a full beard, darkened his skin a shade with tanning spray, and added a fake tattoo sleeve on one arm. He'd be going undercover as Illy, a new trainee hired off Craigslist to help out at the location in Chandler, one of the busiest with constant turnover. He had never met the staff there. It was a corporate-style operation, with hiring and day-to-day handled by the location manager. That made it easy to blend in. Shane showed up on a blazing Monday morning at 6:45 a.m., dressed in steel toe boots, a faded t-shirt, and cargo shorts. The lot was already buzzing with noise, hoses blasting, dryers roaring, cars lining up. A man in his late 30s with tired eyes, a goatee, and a permanent squint approached. "You Illy?" "Yeah," Shane said, lowering his voice. "First day, cool, I'm Rick, I run this place. Just follow orders, don't wander off, and don't touch the vacuums unless I say." Got it. Rick didn't smile. He pointed him toward a gangly teen with sunburned arms scrubbing rims near the back. "That's Jesse, he'll show you how not to screw up." Jesse looked about 17. His shirt stuck to his back with sweat, and he moved like he hadn't slept much. Still, when Shane walked over, Jesse offered a tired grin. "Hey, I'm Jesse, don't worry, it's not too hard once you get into rhythm, just hydration is key, you got water." "Yeah," Shane lied, he hadn't grabbed any. They worked side by side in the sun for 2 hours. Jesse barely took a break. He ran from car to car, scrubbing bugs off windshields, wiping mirrors, and smiling at customers who didn't even glance at him. Shane noticed something weird. Rick never left the shade of the main office. He just barked orders from a distance. When one of the vacuums jammed, Rick yelled at a girl named Tasha to deal with it, even though she was clearly already helping a customer. At 9:22 a.m., it happened. Jesse was finishing a white SUV, crouching to clean the rims, when he suddenly dropped the rag and collapsed. His body hit the pavement hard. Shane rushed over. "Jesse, hey." Jesse's face was pale. His skin burned to the touch. He was breathing, but shallow. "Someone call 911, Shane shouted. No one moved. Rick leaned out of the office. "What's going on now?" Shane stood up. "He just fainted. He's out cold." Rick rolled his eyes. "He does that sometimes. He's dramatic. Just move him to the shade." Shane's jaw clenched. "He's not moving." Rick grabbed a water bottle, walked over, and poured a bit on Jesse's face. "He'll be fine." "We don't have time for this line stacking up." Shane couldn't believe it. "Are you serious right now?" Rick turned to the other employees. "Back to work, people. We're already short today." Shane knelt next to Jesse again, pulled his phone from his sock, and dialed emergency services. When he looked up, most of the crew had silently returned to their stations except Tasha, who stood frozen, wiping tears from her face. The ambulance arrived 10 minutes later. Jesse was barely conscious. The paramedics said it was heat exhaustion and borderline heat stroke. As they loaded him up, Shane looked around. Rick was nowhere to be seen, not even in the office. Tasha stepped closer. "He doesn't care about us. Jesse has worked every day this week. No break, no days off. When we ask for water or shade breaks, Rick says we're being lazy." Shane looked down at his sweat-soaked shirt and the cracked concrete beneath his feet. Something inside him snapped. This wasn't just a bad manager. This was a broken system, and he owned it. The ambulance pulled away with Jesse inside, its siren fading into the heat haze. Shane stood alone near the drying station, watching the staff return to their posts without a word. Tasha walked back toward the vacuums, her eyes still red but her hands moving fast, as if afraid to fall behind. The rest of the crew avoided eye contact completely. No one asked questions. No one checked in. Shane stepped into the storage room behind the wash tunnel. There was no air conditioning, only a box fan rattling in the corner. He needed a moment to process what just happened without breaking character. His shirt clung to him, soaked through. His calves ached from crouching and his mouth was dry. He spotted a faded clipboard hanging on the wall. A schedule handwritten in marker showed names crammed into every day of the week. Jesse's name was on 5 straight days, all 8 hours. So was Tasha's. So was a guy named Lewis. A voice interrupted from behind. "You hiding or what?" Rick stood in the doorway, holding a half-eaten granola bar, chewing slowly. "Just grabbing water," Shane lied, stepping aside. Rick looked him up and down. "We don't really do breaks unless it's dead. You get used to it. Pacing's part of the job." Shane didn't respond. He grabbed a bottle from the crate beneath the sink and walked back out. The sun had climbed higher. The line of cars was now wrapped around the block, engines humming, windows cracked for air. Lewis, a stocky man with a limp, was dragging a cart of towels toward the wash exit. His gait was stiff, favoring his left leg. "Everything all right?" Shane asked, falling in step beside him. Lewis gave a short laugh. "Man, I twisted my knee last week. Told Rick, but he said unless it's broken, it's not an excuse. Said to walk less and wipe faster. You believe that?" Shane didn't answer. By mid-afternoon, 3 more cars had backed up because the vacuums kept stalling. Tasha crouched beside one, trying to untangle a knotted hose while a customer honked impatiently. Rick finally emerged from the office again, tossing a towel over his shoulder. "You still on that vacuum?" he shouted across the lot. Tasha stood up slowly. "It's jammed again. I think the hose has a tear." "So switch it," Rick snapped. "You're not paid to diagnose." "It's the 3rd one this week," she said. "They're all splitting." Rick stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Look, I don't need attitude. If this is too much for you, there's a stack of apps in my inbox." She blinked. "I'm just telling you it's fix it or don't." "Your choice." Shane stepped in. "I can take the next couple vacuums if you want." Rick turned to him. "You don't need to jump into everything, Ellie. Stay in your lane." Shane met his eyes, just trying to help. Rick's stare lingered, then he walked away without a word. By 4:30, Tasha looked like she might pass out next. Shane handed her a cold water from the break room without asking. "You don't have to do that," she said. "I know." She hesitated, then leaned against the wall. 6 months ago, this place was different. We had a manager named Caleb. He was tough but fair. Kept things moving, made sure we rotated out of the sun. When he left, corporate sent Rick. Since then, nobody stays more than a few weeks. What happened to Caleb? He transferred. Said he couldn't deal with Travis anymore. Said things were getting political. Shane nodded slightly, filing that name away. "Why do you stay?" he asked. "I need the money. My mom's out of work. I can't risk quitting, and Jesse." He was holding it together for all of us. He'd joke around, bring extra water. "Made the heat feel lighter, you know?" Shane didn't respond. He couldn't. Not yet. By evening, the lot finally cleared. The crew dragged their feet inside to clock out. Shane stayed behind, washing his hands in the outdoor sink, watching the last car disappear down the street. Rick appeared beside him again, checking something on his phone. "Not bad for your first day," he said without looking up. "You're quick, you might last." Shane forced a neutral tone. "How often do people last?" Rick shrugged. "Depends. Most kids these days can't handle sweat. They want air-conditioned jobs and tick-tock breaks." Shane turned off the faucet. "You ever think maybe the job is asking too much?" Rick laughed. "It's a car wash, Ellie. Nobody's curing cancer. You show up, you clean, you go home." Shane dried his hands silently. The next morning he arrived early. Before Rick, the crew trickled in slower than the day before. Lewis walked with a heavier limp. Tasha had dark circles under her eyes. A new girl, barely taller than the vacuum, stood by the time clock looking lost. Shane approached her. "You knew," she nodded. "Yeah, I'm Kaylee." "I think I'm supposed to train today." He glanced around. No one else was helping. "I got you." He showed her how to loop the microfiber towels twice for better grip, how to check the dryer sensors so the machine didn't overrun. She listened closely, eager but nervous. Lewis called over from the drying station. "She's already doing better than the last 3 hires. One walked out before lunch." Rick arrived an hour later, sunglasses on, sipping a smoothie. He didn't acknowledge Kaylee at all, just shouted across the lot, "Lewis, where's the tire shine supply?" "We're out again," Lewis shrugged. "It was low yesterday, I told you." Rick threw his hands up. "Why doesn't anyone tell me these things ahead of time?" Shane stepped in. "Do we have a reorder system?" Rick turned, annoyed. "You're not management." "Stay out of it." Shane said nothing, but he noticed Kaylee's eyes flicker between them. She had already started learning what kind of place this was. An hour later, a black SUV pulled into the drive with a window sticker from the corporate office. Shane recognized it immediately. Internal audit vehicle. A woman stepped out, clipboard in hand. "Rachel, head of field compliance." Rick rushed over, suddenly energetic. "Rachel, didn't know you were stopping by. We're in full swing, as you can see." She smiled politely. "Just a spot check." "Standard protocol." Rick turned to the crew. "Let's keep it tight, folks. Corporate's watching." But it was too late. Rachel's eyes had already landed on Lewis's limp, on Kaylee fumbling alone, and on the broken vacuum taped together with duct tape. She walked over to Shane. "You knew," he nodded. "Second day. Seen anything interesting?" He paused. "Enough." She raised an eyebrow. "Name?" He hesitated, then said, "Illy." She scribbled something down. Rick hovered nearby. "He's just helping out, still learning. We've had some turnover, but we're stabilizing." Rachel didn't answer. She walked the lot, taking notes. Rick followed closely, talking too fast, explaining too much. At the end of the day, Shane walked Tasha to the parking lot. "You ever think about reporting him?" he asked. She laughed bitterly. "To who?" "Travis." He didn't reply. That night, he sat in his car outside the lot for nearly an hour. He watched Rick lock up, still oblivious. He thought of Jesse, of the ambulance, of how fast everyone had gone back to scrubbing bumpers like nothing had happened. He pulled out his phone, finally texted one person. It was time. Tomorrow they would know who he really was. Shane arrived early again, this time parked across the street in his regular car. No makeup, no beard, no fake tattoo. Just himself, Shane Ellison, CEO of the company that owned this entire operation. He watched from behind his windshield as Rick rolled into the lot 5 minutes late, coffee in hand, music blaring from his truck. He didn't notice Shane. He rarely noticed much outside his own convenience. Shane waited until the crew was assembled and the first few cars had rolled through the pre-rinse. Then he stepped out, crossed the street, and walked straight into the office. Rick was at the back desk with his feet up, scrolling on his phone. "Hey," he said without looking up. "You can't be in here. We're not open to the public yet." Shane stood in the doorway. "I'm not the public." Rick looked up, expression confused for a half-second, then his eyes widened. "Wait." Shane stepped forward and shut the door behind him. "My name is Shane Ellison. I own this company." Rick stood up immediately, knocking over his chair. "Whoa, hey, I didn't realize. I thought you thought I was a new hire. Who you gave zero training, no break, and expected to learn by sweating next to a 17-year-old kid who passed out in front of me." Rick's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Shane pointed to the tablet on the counter. "You falsified Jesse's time card that day. You clocked him out 10 minutes before the ambulance arrived." Rick blinked rapidly. "That was just a system lag. Sometimes the app. I saw you pour water on an unconscious kid and tell everyone to get back to work. That's not a system lag." Rick's face flushed. "Look, I didn't think it was serious. Jesse has fainted before, and you still let him continue working in direct sun." Shane's voice stayed level, but his jaw was tight. "You don't get to play this down, not with me." Rick took a half step back. "I was just following the model Travis laid out." He said the priority was throughput. Keep the line moving, keep labor lean. I was just doing what I thought the company wanted. Shane didn't blink. "You thought cutting corners on safety, ignoring injuries, and threatening your team with termination was what I wanted," Rick swallowed. I didn't mean harm. I can fix it. I'll start running things differently. I swear." Shane picked up a clipboard from the desk. It held the weekly schedule, the same one scrawled in marker and completely overloaded. "You've got Lewis on 5 straight days with a leg injury. You've got Kaylee running vacuums on her 2nd day without support, and you haven't submitted a single equipment maintenance form in 3 weeks. I've been short-staffed. You're fired." Rick froze. "You can collect your things and leave now. I'll have security remove you if you're still here in 10 minutes. Rick's mouth worked silently, then he turned, grabbed his keys, and walked out. Shane waited until he was gone. Then he stepped outside. The crew was gathered near the vacuums, uncertain and whispering. Tasha's eyes darted to him. Lewis looked stunned. Shane cleared his throat. "My name's Shane Ellison. I'm the owner of this company. For the last 2 days, I've been working alongside you under a different name." The lot went silent. I saw things I never should have had to see, Jesse collapsing, Lewis limping through shifts. Tasha handling 3 broken vacuums without help. And I saw all of you keep working because you felt like you had no choice. He paused, looking each of them in the eye. "Rick is no longer with the company, effective immediately." Tasha exhaled, barely audible. "You've all held this place together with no support. That stops now. Until we name a new manager, I'll be here personally. Starting today, we're rotating hydration breaks every hour, no exceptions. Lewis, you're off duty, still on payroll until your leg heals. Tasha, you're getting a technician from corporate to help with repairs by this afternoon. You're not fixing vacuums alone anymore." Lewis looked down, blinking fast. "Are you serious?" "Yes, and you're getting paid for the days you worked injured." Kaylee stepped forward, hesitant. "Am I still? Am I doing all right?" "You're doing more than all right," Shane said. "You walked into chaos and kept your head up. That counts." She nodded, blinking hard. Shane turned to the rest of the group. "This place is not going to run the way it did. I built this company with my dad. We started with 1 wash bay and a hose. It was never supposed to turn into a place where people were afraid to speak up or collapse on the pavement from heatstroke." He paused again. "If any of you ever feel unsafe, unheard, or unsupported, you call this number." He handed out cards with his direct line, "No assistant, no buffer. And if anyone tells you not to use it, let me know, immediately." A few heads nodded. No one spoke right away. Then Lewis stepped forward. "You really worked with us these last 2 days." "I did." Lewis hesitated. "Then you saw how hard Jesse works. He's the reason most of us didn't walk out." "I saw it. He's going to be taken care of." Shane pulled his phone from his pocket and dialed. The call was answered quickly. "Hey. Yeah, I need you to transfer payroll access to me for the Chandler location. And get me Jesse Ramirez's file. I'm adding a retention bonus and covering his hospital bill personally. Also, reach out to his mother. I want her to know he's not losing wages while he recovers." He hung up without fanfare. Tasha covered her mouth briefly, then lowered her hand. "That means a lot, more than you know." "I should have been here sooner," Shane said. "That's on me, but I'm here now." The rest of the day ran differently. Shane pulled shifts alongside the team, helping with drying and tire detailing. A technician arrived just after lunch and began inspecting the vacuum lines. 2 were pulled out of service completely. The others were patched and tagged for replacement. Shane sent Kaylee home early with full pay, telling her she'd get a proper onboarding next shift. Lewis was given a ride home with a prepaid clinic appointment already booked. Before the crew clocked out, Shane gathered them one last time. "I won't pretend that everything's fixed. It's not. But this is a start. And if I ever forget what it's like out here, someone remind me or I'll come back and relearn it." He shook hands with each of them before they left. No speeches, No cameras, just eye contact and quiet gratitude. As the sun dropped behind the west wall, Shane stood alone in the lot, gloves off, shirt stained with sweat again for the right reasons this time. He looked at the empty wash tunnel, thought of Jesse in a hospital room, and made a silent vow. Never again would he let a system run on autopilot while people paid the price, not while his name was on the sign. The next morning, Shane stepped back onto the lot just after sunrise, wearing a clean gray polo with the company logo stitched at the chest. The air was already warming, but the concrete hadn't yet begun to radiate heat. He held a clipboard with a revised staffing chart, a maintenance schedule, and a list of emergency protocols he'd rewritten overnight. Lewis arrived first, walking slower than yesterday but without the stiffness Shane had noticed before. He wore a knee brace and clean sneakers. "You're not scheduled to work," Shane said, walking over. "I know," Lewis replied. "But I didn't want to sit at home. I figured I could show the new guy how to handle the drying station." "Not physically, just talk him through it." Shane handed him a folding chair from the supply closet and pointed to the shaded corner near the air compressor. "Appreciate that. Just sit, observe, and shout advice when necessary." Tasha showed up next, her usual tired shuffle replaced by something steadier. She looked surprised when Shane handed her a printed checklist. "Today you're leading operations," he said. "Temporary supervisor until we finalize a replacement. You'll coordinate rotations and track shift logs. That all right with you?" Her eyebrows tightened. "You trust me to run the place? You've already been doing it, now you'll get paid for it." She scanned the sheet. "This is structured." "We've never had this." "You do now." One by one, the rest of the crew arrived. Kaylee returned in a crisp uniform shirt, her posture straighter than before. Shane introduced her to a new hire, Marcus, a soft-spoken man in his early 20s with previous detailing experience. He'd been recruited from another location and was brought in specifically to ease the burden on the existing staff. Shane gathered the team near the vacuums before opening. "I'm not here to babysit," he said. "I'm here to build something that lasts. You don't deserve chaos. You deserve a system that works, that protects you, and that pays you fairly for the job you do. That starts now." He handed Tasha a walkie-talkie and gave her the authority to pause the line at any time if conditions became unsafe. Then he walked the lot, checking every vacuum hose, every towel bin, every water station. Nothing was left to chance. By mid-morning, the sun had risen high enough to bake the pavement. Shane watched as Tasha rotated the crew at 30-minute intervals between sun and shade. Marcus handled the heavier detailing without complaint. Kaylee stood by the vacuums, wiping windows with a rhythm that had already improved. Shane stepped into the office and opened the laptop that Rick had left behind. Folders were disorganized, reports half-filled, and several flagged maintenance tickets had never been submitted. He forwarded all of it to corporate HR, attaching a note with the date Rick had first taken over the location. By early afternoon, Rachel from Field Compliance arrived. This time she didn't carry a clipboard. She stepped out of her SUV and looked around slowly. "You did all this in 2 days?" she asked quietly as Shane joined her. "No," he replied. "They did, I just stopped getting in the way." She nodded once. "I ran the numbers. Chandler had the highest turnover in the region over the last 4 months. We missed it. I missed it." "Not anymore," Shane said. "I want to implement mandatory field audits every 30 days at every location, not just the numbers. I want interviews with crew members. Anonymous if needed." Rachel pursed her lips. "That's going to irritate a few district managers." "Good. If they're irritated, they should ask themselves why." She looked toward Tasha, who was walking Kaylee through the new checklist. "What about her?" "She's getting a formal offer by end of week. Full-time supervisor with benefits, and back pay for the hours she worked off the clock under Rick." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "You're serious about cleaning house." "I'm serious about not running a business that hurts people." She didn't argue. Later, Shane received a call from Jessica's mother. He stepped into the corner of the lot to take it, nodding as she spoke. He offered his personal assurance that Jessica's job would be waiting for him, but not until he had fully recovered. She thanked him, her voice steady but emotional. When he returned, he found Marcus helping Kaylee with a jammed hose. Lewis was calling out suggestions from his folding chair, teasing them gently. Tasha stood nearby, clipboard in hand, checking off tasks with calm precision. No one was yelling. No one was rushing blindly. The work was still hard, but it wasn't punishing. Shane walked the perimeter once more, checking for loose equipment, watching how each team member moved. He spotted a woman in a corporate polo approaching from the far gate. It was Denise from HR, here to meet with Tasha and Lewis privately to document their experiences under Rick's management. Shane stayed out of the conversation, letting them speak freely. As the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the lot, the last car pulled away. Shane gathered the team one last time. "You've done more than hold this place together," he said. "You've reshaped it. I can't change what happened before, but I can promise you this: no more managers who treat you like machines, no more silence when things go wrong. This location will be a model, not a warning." Tasha closed her clipboard. "We're just glad someone finally listened." "I didn't listen soon enough," Shane replied. "That's on me, but I'm not leaving again." He handed each of them a sealed envelope. Performance bonuses, modest but meaningful. Marcus looked surprised. Kaylee blinked as she opened hers. Lewis gave a quiet nod. They filed out one by one. No applause, no photos. Just tired, honest faces walking to their cars with a little less weight on their shoulders. Shane stayed behind, turning off the lights in the office. He sat in the chair Rick used to occupy and stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he opened a new document and began typing a memo to every location in the company. It started with a single line: "If you can't protect your people, you don't deserve to run a team." He saved the file, stood, and locked the door behind him. Outside, the lot was quiet. The air had cooled. For the first time in weeks, the Chandler location felt like it belonged to the people who worked it, not the ones who ignored them. Shane walked to his car, knowing he'd be back tomorrow. Because leadership wasn't about policies or titles. It was about showing up, especially when it was hardest.